Welcome to Playbook. I am Chris Clark, and we have made it to December. Thankfully. And that means ACC championship and bowl games. College football playoff are right around the corner, and whether it's trying to pick up another win or two before the postseason or just some pride, that is always on the line. Every ACC team still has something to play for, and that's where we come in. Yeah, but let's get real here. Goal for everybody at the start of the season was to first make it to the ACC championship game, but now only 3 teams still have a shot at filling those 2 spots. Notre Dame already there with a change in next week's schedule. Still not going to be able to convince me they did that on purpose, but I digress. The undefeated Fighting Irish clinched their spot in Charlotte on December the 19th, but the Irish don't know who they're going to be playing just quite yet. If Clemson wins this weekend, they're in. But if the Tigers lose, Miami can secure their spot in the title game by winning their last 2 contests. And that scheduling change I mentioned, the ACC canceled both Notre Dame and Clemson's games next weekend. That will allow the Irish Tigers, along with the Miami Hurricanes, to each play a 9-game schedule, creating a level playing field-ish for who goes to the conference title game. But even with their spot in Charlotte wrapped up, as WTTV's Chris Widlick reports, the Fighting Irish can add another milestone to their lengthy history this week. Chris?
Despite some COVID bumps along the way, Notre Dame can clinch at least a tie for the ACC title in their one and only year in a conference by beating struggling Syracuse in South Bend on Saturday. And it's all come together behind the school's all-time winningest quarterback. But for some reason, senior Ian Book isn't getting the respect he deserves, but something that's actually worked to his advantage.
I read an article in USA Today from some guy that really shouldn't be writing articles about football. He should probably be doing something else. But they listed the top 10 quarterbacks, I think, in college football. And they didn't even list Ian. He's got a little fuel. He's got a little chip on his shoulder as well. And he's a guy that makes plays.
He's got a chip on my shoulder here. Look, I don't know who's writing those. So have they played football or not? I'm not sure. It's just part of it. There's a ton of articles out there that say a lot of bad things about Notre Dame. But again, it doesn't really matter who's ranking at the end of the day. I'm having fun out here playing college football. It's a dream come true. I feel fortunate to be here. We're 9-0, so I got nothing for whoever wrote that, but it's motivating.
And Book will want to make his senior day as special as it can be in a pandemic. A victory keeps them on track for the college football playoff, something nobody saw coming back in August. Reporting on the Fighting Irish for Playbook, I'm Chris Widlick.
Thank you, Chris. Going to be a cold one as the Irish wrap up their season at home. Kick off against Syracuse at 2:30. Orange are just 1-8 on the season. But as WSYR's Stephen Fonte reports, head coach Dino Babers says this season could be really valuable as the Orange move forward.
Well, about the only good thing you can say about the 2020 football season for Syracuse is that the Orange is on the verge of making it through its entire slate without a single scheduling change due to COVID-19. That's not easy to do. Unfortunately, it also does not help in the win-loss column. Dino Babers has watched his roster get decimated over the course of the last 3 months. It started with a few opt-outs, then came a rash of injuries. It's gotten to the point now where essentially half the guys on the field are either freshmen or redshirt freshmen. That's translated into just 1 win this season, but Dino refuses to lose faith. He firmly believes that what's happened this year will only make the Orange stronger as long as everyone sticks together.
We're going through this for a reason, and we're going to turn a negative into a positive. And the thing that I want is just remember that when the positive happened, remember this negative. But again, if these guys hang around, and academically they should, that they should do nothing but be better. My thing is they can't stay the same, and we want to continue to give them opportunities, continue to stretch them, continue to make them grow faster than maybe they want to, so that they can be better sooner than they expect to.
Barring a monumental upset Saturday in South Bend against second-ranked Notre Dame, the Orange will finish with double-digit losses for just the 3rd time in program history. The other 2 times came during the Greg Robinson era in 2005 and 2007. Let's not forget, Dino Babers is just 2 years removed from a 10-win season back in 2018. Covering Syracuse, I'm Stephen Fonte.
Thank you, Steve. Clemson's going to have to win on the road at Virginia Tech if they want to clinch their spot in the ACC championship game. WSPA's Pete Yannity covering the Tigers for us. Pete?
The Clemson Tigers hold at number 3 in the College Football Playoff Committee rankings as they head to Blacksburg, Virginia for a game on Saturday against Virginia Tech. It'll be the final regular season game, something that was in question earlier in the week until the ACC announced the Tigers do not have to play an 11th contest to make up for the one that got called off down at Florida State. And Clemson and Notre Dame and Miami will be judged on their 9 regular season ACC games played. However, hours before that announcement came on Tuesday from the ACC office, Dabo Swinney at his weekly news conference was asked if he had a feeling on whether or not his team should be made to play that 11th regular season contest. And you got a pretty good impression the whole Florida State situation is still very much in his craw.
Yeah, and you know, we didn't get to play the game, but we were, you know, we had a runaway bride. We were walking down the aisle, and you know, so we were prepared. And you know, it's not like you just didn't get to play. I mean, you work all week, you're prepared.
On another note, Clemson senior running back Darian Rencher is the recipient of the 2020 Disney Spirit Award. It goes to the person or coach or player or team in college football that is most inspirational. Covering the Clemson Tigers, I'm Pete Yanity.
Thank you, Pete. Now, it won't be an easy one for the Tigers as they look to book their trip to Charlotte. Standing in their way are the Virginia Tech Hokies, who are playing at home and should be more than well rested after a week off. So let's bring on the man, the myth, the legend. Before him, there were none. After him, there will be no more. I'm talking about WFXR's Jermaine Farrell. Take a closer look at this one. Jermaine, first of all, thanks for joining us, man. And what has to go right for the Hokies in this one to pull off the upset, my friend?
But Chris, before I begin, how do you follow that intro? I mean,
just be you, my brother. Just be you.
Intro.
Just be you. You fill the screen with emotion and storytelling, and just every week we look forward to it. And I'm telling you, man, you know what? All you. Take it.
There you go. And I also fill the screen with size. That's a really big thing. But a couple of things you mentioned, Chris, on their bye week, which was much needed. Virginia Tech really needed it because they played 9 straight weeks. And to get this bye week, particularly the week of Thanksgiving, was great when you look at what happened with them. And another thing we got to really look at when you look at the Hokies, you know, obviously during this bye week, one big thing that happened, they did lose, of course, one of their quarterbacks, which was Quincy Patterson. He went into the transfer portal. Obviously, a lot of players want to get that playing time, and it's big. But Virginia Tech reeling, they've lost their last 3 games, which has really been tough. I mean, and 2 of those games were close games. They could easily have won, a close one to Miami and then a close one to Liberty. So that's really, but then the bottom really fell out when they lost to Pitt in a big way. So really the Hokies, they look motivated. We talked to them this week. They look motivated to show everyone on that primetime stage Saturday night they can hang with Clemson, but it's not going to be an easy task considering the fact, Chris, that they've lost their last 5 meetings with the Clemson Tigers. In fact, Chris, real quick, when you look at it, when Virginia Tech, they won their last 5, they won 5 straight before the 5-game losing streak, and then the programs kind of went in opposite directions, Clemson ascending and Virginia Tech descending. So it's kind of interesting how that happened those last 5 games.
You start looking back on the season, I mean, a couple of points either way, a couple of plays either way. You're looking at, like you said, two more wins, which changes a lot of things for the Hokies. But tell me something, I know there's a lot of stuff these coaches drilled down on. What was the major focus for Virginia Tech in their week off last week?
Chris, they did a lot of reevaluation. I mean, they reevaluated things on the team because what they did, you know, Coach Fuente talked about, hey, we want to look over our program. And obviously with 2 games remaining and probably the 2 big ones in Clemson and next week, the Commonwealth clash with Virginia, they wanted to reevaluate things, see where they're struggling. A lot of their younger players got a lot of reps, so they got a chance to work with them. But really the key thing is a lot of their veteran players got rest. If you look at a guy like the running back in Khalil the Juice is loose. Herbert got off to a great start, but then that injury bug creeped in and he had a bad hammy. And when you have a bad hammy, you can't really perform the way you needed to. So the rest really came at a great time. And when you look at this overall schedule, I mean, playing 9 straight games, and a lot of things got moved around early on. If you remember, Virginia Tech was supposed to play NC State. That game got pushed due to COVID. And then they were supposed to play Virginia, and that game got pushed to COVID. So everything kind of got backloaded. They really didn't get a bye week until now. So when you look at it, and one thing, too, I talked to a lot of people, you know, Chris, the fact that the fans aren't going to be there. You're going to have a limited number of fans, so it's not going to have that energy and that electricity that you would expect from a Virginia Tech game at Lane Stadium. So that's going to be one big thing that's missed.
Oh, I definitely remember those games. I got loud. I mean, even before they started the Metallica, that place was rocking, baby, man. Now, the Hokies, like we said, came up just short against 2 ranked teams last month. I think it was a field goal to Liberty and just a point, which is just killer. I'd rather lose by 30 than just 1 point. But the question is, can they get over the hump this week against a potential playoff team and, you know, take out a squad that everybody kind of wants to see everybody take down just, you know, just this time there? What do you think?
Well, I mean, Chris, when you look at it, it's going to be tough for them to do it. I mean, Virginia Tech would have to play the perfect game, and even to play the perfect game, Clemson would have to make a lot of mistakes. And when you look at Clemson, I mean, they're just a machine, and I'm sure they got their eye. But, you know, with Clemson, they got to keep their eye on the prize, because if they win this game, they clinch a spot in the ACC championship game. So, you know, Clemson is going to be fired up because they don't want this thing to linger to where, okay, if we lose this game, we're going to have to depend on someone else. So they're going to be fired up, but Virginia Tech's going to be fired up. And let's face facts, you have a top 4 team coming into your house. But another tough stat for Virginia Tech, which doesn't really trend their direction, in the past 10 years, they've only beaten 1 ranked team at home. And Chris, I'm not going to quiz you on who that was, but I'm going to give you the answer anyway, because I'm the professor and not great on the curve, is the fact that it was Wake Forest last year, when Wake Forest was ranked 17th at Lane Stadium, the Bud Foster tribute game. So they've only got 1 win at home, but even before that, back in the day with Frank Beamer, ranked teams would come in and be welcome to the Terror Dome, because the Hokies would get fired up for that. And the Hokies are fired up, but the trend is it's going to be tough. But if you had to really say who's going to win this game, you got to say Clemson is the ultimate favorite. I think they're like a 20-point favorite. And I can't remember a time that Virginia Tech has been that big of an underdog at home. So it's going to be interesting, but a lot of things got to go the Hokies' way if they want to get that upset win Saturday night.
Stats, facts, information, little history lesson. You get it all from WFXR's Jermaine Farrell. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate it, my friend.
All right, Chris, and you have a wonderful time. And like I said, again, I just want to give you another shout out. You're doing a great job putting the show together. It's great that all of us Next Star peeps can get together and do a little playbook action with the man, Double C, Chris Clark.
Make sure that check gets to Jermaine, please. I appreciate that. Take care, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Have a good one.
Jermaine Farrell, everybody. Meanwhile, the Miami Hurricanes thought they would be playing Wake Forest this weekend, and surprise, 2020. And now you're playing Duke. Now, honestly, the crew from South Beach is actually just happy to be playing after 2 weeks off with COVID-related issues. With players coming back from the holiday vacation, they actually just, I hope they got everyone cleared to play. I stress hope. Might not have a full roster. I mean, they were shorthanded on the offensive line the last game they played against Virginia Tech and almost lost that one. Coach Diaz is confident they're going to have enough players to make the trip, though. He didn't say quality guys. He just said players. So we're going to see how that pans out after another round of testing. Also, there's the issue of rest versus rust. Take 2 weeks off from anything, and you're not going to be as sharp as the guys doing it every day.
Duke and Georgia Tech just went through this past week, is just dealing with the long layoff. You know, not being able to practice over the last couple of weeks. Just getting our guys back into football shape. You know, back into contact. I mean, there's just a lot of things that are very unusual about our team at this point. And so it's got to be a very focused week, and it's got to be the players have to understand that what we're, the adversity of the difference in preparation for this game than any other game that they'll ever play or that I've ever been a part of.
And that phrase is next man up. When someone gets hurt, next man's expected to step up, do the job no matter what the opponent is. And in case of Duke football, it's not just the next man, but rather team. Problems with COVID at FSU got the game switched, so the Blue Devils going to face Miami instead, like we just said. And another 2020 thing that would raise eyebrows in a normal year, but not this one. Blue Devils were just getting over the loss to Georgia Tech when they found out about the switch, so no setback really in planning. They didn't get any pre-work done, but they feel confident in having a game plan for the Hurricanes.
You just kind of have to flip the switch, just due to all this COVID going on. You really don't know who you're going to play, especially towards the end with all the cancellations that's going on. But I think we knew going into Sunday, we had an idea that some things was going to change, but we just didn't know the opponent.
It really wasn't too difficult because we never really started preparing for Miami or Florida State yet. So Sunday was just get people like just get the lactic acid out of our bodies.
Leave it to one of the Duke guys to talk lactic acid, but we'll get to that later. Now, one guy they need to make sure they have answers for is Hurricanes quarterback Derek King. He's every bit of just what the doctor ordered for the Canes to fill the void at quarterback they've been suffering for the last few years. With good weapons around him, the running game and the passing game, he can put up some video game type numbers like he did against NC State, but keep him under wraps and you got a chance like Virginia and Virginia Tech did a few weeks back.
Yeah, he's a great athlete, and he can extend plays. So any quarterback this day and time, and you see that more and more, great athletes that extend plays can make plays. He's got a lot of weapons. Looks like he has a great knowledge of what they're trying to do. He's as I said, a multi-threat player, and he takes advantage of everything a defense gives him, and he's great. He's a master at running the program. I mean, they hurry up, get to the line of scrimmage. He gets the ball quickly, knows what to do with it, and has become more and more consistent as the season's gone by.
Duke and Miami under the lights in prime time at Wallace Wade Stadium. Kickoff is Saturday night at 8 o'clock. Meanwhile, North Carolina faced its toughest opponent yet last Friday when the Tar Heels hosted number 2 ranked Notre Dame. And while it didn't go UNC's way, all was not lost in the outing. WNCN's Alyssa Ray joins us now live with a look at that game and the upcoming one against Western Carolina. How you doing, Alyssa?
I'd be better if I got the intro that Jermaine did. I mean, we're in the same room here, Chris. Give me some love.
Okay, let me see if I can try this one again.
Yeah, let's
all
do
right,
it again.
hold on. Okay, we did before there and there, after one there. That was okay, though. Okay, God, I'm coming up blank.
I'll take
you
it
put
from
me on
here.
the spot.
All
Come
right,
on
Jermaine
now.
would do better. All right, the game against the Fighting Irish was uncharacteristic for the Tar Heels. Going into that meeting, UNC averaged 49 points per game and were held to just 17. But that's a testament to Notre Dame's defense. They're number 2 in the country for a reason, and their front line stifled North Carolina and ultimately limited offensive production in the first half and completely eliminated any in the second. But if that game's behind them, then the Heels have another one, and that means they face Western Carolina Saturday. And if you're wondering what led to the scheduling of the Catamounts, Coach Brown explains it well.
It was a 10+1 to start the year when we redid the schedules with the ACC, so they asked you to play one out-of-conference game. We wanted to play an in-state team if we could. Charlotte was not able to come because of COVID. So then we said, okay, we just won't play another one. And the ACC office told us that we needed to play another one because we had promised so many TV exposures.
Western Carolina is 0-2 on the season, but to be fair, one of those losses was to a ranked Liberty team that only has 1 loss.
Now, I feel like I know the answer to this next question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. I'm guessing that we will see more from the Heels offense than we saw against Notre Dame.
Well, Chris, I'm not a betting woman, as far as you all know, but if I was, I would bet the Carolina offense will be back to its old self and put up some pretty big numbers. It's also senior day, so expect to see the seniors having some fun out there.
Gotcha. A record-setting woman of the record. Whatever she says is money, because that means you can take it to the bank. She is always on top of her beat, and that is the UNC Tar Heels. Is that good enough for you?
Took him long enough. Yeah, took him long enough. Appreciate it, Chris. Have a good one, buddy.
Take care. Appreciate it. Yeah. It's another noon kickoff at Chapel Hill as the Tar Heels take on the Catamounts. And here's an interesting one for you. Just because Western Carolina and UNC are in the same state doesn't make this a quick trip. Now, we checked out the map. It's almost 300 miles from Cullowhee up in the mountains to Chapel Hill. And NC State wrapping up their regular season campaign this weekend. But as WNCN's Todd Gibson reports, the Wolfpack have their eyes on a bowl game.
NC State will play its final regular season game of the year right here at Carter-Finley Stadium on Saturday when the Wolfpack welcomes Georgia Tech to town for a 4 o'clock kickoff. But it will not be the Pack's final game of the year. With the potential for an 8-win campaign, NC State's postseason is looking good.
I mean, after we won our 6th, I congratulated the team on being bowl eligible again, and they went nuts. I mean, it was obviously a goal that the team had, and I said now the goal is to win out and put yourself in the conversations for the best possible bowl you can get into. And so that's a goal the guys have, and we've been able to do that since that game, and obviously we have one more here to finish strong and then put it in the committee's hands on where we deserve to go.
Yeah, that'd be huge. I mean, that'd be awesome. I mean, that's what we're fighting for. We just want to prove ourselves. And, you know, after last year and the ups and downs and the things that have gone on, you know, I think we deserve it.
Bowl games is what every college team wants. They want to be able to play in the postseason and get a chance to get a bowl ring and take the team out and play another team that you probably wouldn't get a chance to play against some really good competition, really solidify your spot within a position of dominance in college football.
That would be big. You know, that would just show us where we're really at, just playing a team just as good as us in a bowl game that's like top tier, one of the best ones. So, I mean, it's going to be a challenge, but, you know, like we've been facing challenges all year, so we're ready for it.
With the victory, NC State will do what no other Wolfpack team has ever done, win 7 ACC games in a season. Following the Wolfpack in Raleigh, I'm Todd Gibson.
Thank you, Todd. Wolfpack trying to get that elusive 7th conference win when they kick off against Georgia Tech. That one is at 4 o'clock. And the Virginia Cavaliers are riding some mo after losing in 4 straight weeks back in October. They bounced back to win 3 straight before last week's game was postponed. WRIC's Natalie Calabet covering the Cavs. Natalie?
It was a disappointing weekend for Virginia. The Cavaliers woke up in Tallahassee on Saturday ready to play Florida State, only for their game to be canceled at the last minute. Head coach Bronco Mendenhall was especially frustrated.
It doesn't seem like too much to ask for anyone that's playing in college football to have their tests in and reported negative before the opponent gets on the airplane to leave.
This wasn't a new experience for Virginia, which has had several games postponed or canceled due to COVID-19 issues with their opponent. And Mendenhall said his players took the news in stride.
They didn't even blink. They just wanted to know if that game might be rescheduled, what our thoughts were regarding that. And then we're on to Boston College.
The matchup with the Eagles gives UVA a chance to win their 4th straight game. A victory would also move the Cavaliers back over 500 at 5-4.
We're looking forward now to our next home game, on our last home game for our seniors at Scott Stadium, and a great matchup, and I think what could be an exceptional football game.
Kickoff from Scott Stadium is at 3:30 on Saturday. Then it's Commonwealth Clash Week as Virginia Tech looms on December 12th. Covering Virginia, I'm Natalie Calabet.
Thank you, Natalie. And after losing to Notre Dame in a tough contest at home, the Boston College Eagles took a week off, came back and just hammered Louisville 34-27. From the start, winning close games his first year, Eagles head coach Jeff Hafley is turning heads. I mean, this Tuesday they landed a new commitment also as North Carolina linebacker Bryce Steele verbally committed to the Eagles over NC State, Texas, and Michigan. I mean, so Michigan State rather. So here is you know, something brewing in Beantown. He's got everybody talking, and it's due to the hard work and tireless preparation the coaching staff puts in week and week out. Let's be honest here. It's really amazing the hours that they spent. This week, they're going to face the Virginia Cavaliers, like we just said. And I have to set this next bite up from Coach. We asked Hafley what he thought about the Cavaliers' offense. It's open-ended. It gives him a chance to talk about, you know, what he wants and what he thinks. Let him answer how he wants. He said he hasn't really looked at them all that much in depth. Then he proceeded to say this. Just watch.
I think their quarterback's playing really well. He's a really good athlete, lefty, southpaw, throwing the ball pretty well. Seems to have really good command of the huddle. You know, their last 3 games, I thought they've done really well on offense. Number 4, the wideout's a dynamic player. They'll line him up in the slot. They'll put him out at wideout. They'll put him in the backfield. And then, you know, number 99 comes in, plays some quarterback, plays some wide receiver. You know, they do a lot, Rich, on offense. A lot of different personnel groups, 2 tight ends, no backs, 3 wide receivers, plus a quarterback, 2 quarterbacks in the game. You know, so they do a lot. So we got to really prepare and make sure we're on top of everything. Their one tight end, I believe number 87, looks like a giant. Looks like he's about 6'7". You know, he's definitely a mismatch. We don't have many defenders that are 6'7". 13 and 81 are 2 really good receivers. I think 13's got good speed and he's a good deep threat. 81's another really tall guy, big guy on the outside, which we're going to have to be physical with because they like to throw him up the ball. And the O-line, they look like they're all over 300 pounds. So studying their offense, they do, like I said, they do a lot of stuff. They have some explosive playmakers. Number 5 is playing really well. So we're definitely going to have our hands full.
Okay, we stopped the clock right there because he started talking about the defense. But 1 minute 11 seconds on the Virginia offense. that he hasn't really looked into yet. Yeah, that should tell you all you need to know about preparation right there. Tell me he isn't prepared again? Yeah, it should be a good game on Saturday. Kickoff in Charlottesville at 3:30. Well, all the schedule changes in the last week or so has our heads kind of spinning here. So let's bring on Jason Logan from Covers.com to help get a better picture of the games that are actually happening this weekend, if you will. Some massive point spreads in the ACC this weekend, and one of those going to the Syracuse Orange, who are 33.5-point underdogs visiting Notre Dame. Yeah, we know the motivation for the Irish. Is that enough to cover this pile of chalk is the question.
Yeah, you're right. The motivation is still pretty sky high for Notre Dame. You know, they not only have to win out here to get themselves raised up in the eyes of the selection committee there for the CFP playoffs, but they might have to score some style points along the way. And this is also senior day for the Irish too, so they're going to want to send those upperclassmen off in style with a big win. We look at Syracuse. Before scoring 29 points against NC State, Syracuse had posted a combined 27 points in the 3 games prior. Now they face this Notre Dame defense, which is giving up just under 17 points per game on the season. Notre Dame, I mean, yes, the point spread is going to give it away. Notre Dame should kind of cruise to an easy win here. Their defense is going to be able to handle Syracuse, and then their offense is probably going to play a little defense as well, too. They are able to run the ball, and they're one of the best time of possession teams in college football, an average possession of 34 minutes and 11 seconds. So they're going to be able to wear down that Cuse defense. The Orange offense, on the other hand, is dead last in this metric. They are the worst time of possession team in college football, 24 minutes and 6 seconds. And they also stink on third downs, converting just 25% of their third down chances. That's also among the worst in the country. Game time temperatures in South Bend are going to be pretty chilly. That feels like temperatures down around 31 degrees. So I could see Coach Brian Kelly maybe worrying about injuries to some key players. Maybe he gets up early. Maybe pulls out some of those key guys, gets some second, third string seniors in there to get some run at the end of the day. So I'm a little bit wary in terms of laying that big 33.5-point spread with the Irish this weekend.
Certainly it'll be an interesting. Now, swinging our attention to the Heisman odds and Clemson quarterback Trevor Lawrence. He was the favorite to, they say, strike a pose there for most of the season. But since his stint with COVID-19 and that Tigers lost to Notre Dame, how much has his Heisman's hope shifted in the eyes of the odds makers?
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence has fallen from the top of the Heisman odds since we last checked and talked about this a few weeks back. So before the COVID outbreak at Clemson, Lawrence was around an even money favorite. He was even an odds-on favorite at some sports books, down around -110. And now he's the 3rd overall favorite on the board at +900. Still a pretty tempting pay for a guy as good as Lawrence, but he's behind 2 SEC quarterbacks in Florida's Kyle Trask and Alabama's Mac Jones, who are priced at -135 and +150 respectively. Notre Dame's Ian Book, he's actually made some significant jumps up the Heisman board as well too. Still a +6,000 long shot. If we want to stick with the ACC, De'Aaron King +10,000 long shot. As for Lawrence, I think right now he's more concerned with getting Clemson right, getting them back into the ACC title game, getting a little revenge on Notre Dame, and then getting a ticket to the CFP semifinals.
And yes, the Miami Hurricanes were supposed to be meeting Wake Forest in Week 14, but due to the Demon Deacons outbreak as well as COVID issues with Florida State, the Canes find themselves headed to Durham to play Duke. Now, the Blue Devils have given up a ton of points in recent games. How big is this total Saturday night going to be?
Yeah, the total right now at 60.5 points, not the tallest total on the board, but a fairly good size one. And Miami's team total is the one I'm more interested in here. Their team total is 38.5 points. The Canes come into this game having sat out the past 2 weeks due to the COVID outbreaks. And the last time we saw them, they were squeaking out a 25-24 win over Virginia Tech. Miami could look a little rusty. I mean, they haven't played any games. They've had no practices until this week. And then they're not going to be taking a full team to Durham as well. Just basically getting enough guys cleared and healthy to be able to play this game. And that's really all they're trying to do at this point. The Blue Devils have just hemorrhaged points here over the past 2 games, gave up 56 points to both Georgia Tech and North Carolina. Turnover troubles are kind of the root of those issues. They handed the ball over 5 extra times to Georgia Tech, and they own an ACC worst 30 turnovers on the season. As for the Canes, the old turnover chain is collecting a little dust this year. It hasn't been as lively as past years. They have just 11 takeaways on the season. If they don't generate those extra possessions, and we're kind of find a return to form on offense after such a long layoff, I think this could be an easy under, or at least an under team total 38.5 points for Miami.
As usual, crunching the numbers so we don't have to. Thank you, Jason. Have a good weekend. And whether it was schedule changes or planned bye weeks, 4 teams are off this weekend. We're talking about Wake Forest, Pitt, Louisville, and Florida State. They're all going to rest up before returning to action next week. And 2 of those teams will square off against each other when they return to action. Wake Forest and Louisville will spend their weeks off looking forward to their head-to-head matchup. WAHT's Randall Parmalee covering the Cardinals. But first, let's check with WGHB's Danny Harnden and the Demon Deacons. Danny?
COVID-19 has really messed up the schedule for the Wake Forest football team. They only played 1 game in the month of November. That was a wild 59-53 loss to North Carolina, where both teams combined for over 1,300 yards of offense. That ended a 4-game Deacons winning streak. And then the Duke game was canceled. No game this week. And now they find out that next week's game with unbeaten Notre Dame has been changed. Wake now taking on Louisville. Everyone knew coming into the season that you would have to be flexible, but for the Deacons, it's been a lot. This week, a positive case in the program has been cause for pause.
I think our players are frustrated just because they want to play games. We do not have a lot of positive cases. It's single digits. The thing that gets you is the contact tracing. That one case doesn't put one person out. You know, if guys live in a suite with 3 other people or 5 other people, you could have 2 positives and be down 12 players. I think as a whole, they're just frustrated collectively because they want to play football. They made so much sacrifice. I mean, we went almost 3 months without having a positive test. And like I told you in the beginning, you know, COVID wasn't going to be defeated. We did a great job with it for a long time. And now, unfortunately, has creeped into our program.
The Deacons have only played 7 games. They're 4-3. They'd love to finish with a couple of wins to go 6-3 in a season that's been so difficult. 6-3 Wake would take it. Reporting on the Deacons, I'm Danny Harnden.
Louisville head coach Scott Satterfield is looking for momentum as the season winds down. Just something to build on for next season. A 30-0 win 2 weeks ago against Syracuse was a good start, but the Cards could not keep the momentum going, and last weekend lost for the 7th time this season, falling on the road at Boston College. Now, BC beat the Cards 34-27, despite a massive game from Malik Cunningham, who had a career-high 427 total yards. Turnovers cost Louisville once again. The Cards entered the game 4th worst in the nation with 18 turnovers, and they coughed it up 3 times, leading to 13 BC points. Louisville defense, which has been suspect this year, did not offer much resistance to Boston College, giving up 435 yards of total offense. So Louisville now has the weekend off before they wrap up the season hosting Wake Forest on the 12th. Covering the Louisville Cardinals, I'm Randall Parmalee.
Thank you, Randall. And for the 3rd week in a row, a previously scheduled Florida State game won't be happening. WMBB's Courtney Mims is covering the Seminoles, who's going to rest up for their 2 remaining contests. Courtney?
It's been a wild few weeks for the Florida State football team. They canceled their games with Clemson and Virginia due to COVID-19 concerns, and then the ACC postponed their game with Duke, originally set for this weekend. The Seminoles have had 2 games added to their schedule. On Tuesday night, they played Duke on December 12th, now at home, and are on the road against Wake Forest on December 19th. Seminoles head football coach Mike Norvell said they're treating this week like a bye, and on Sunday, they will start preparing for the Blue Devils. The last few weeks have definitely been tough on this squad. Both the Clemson and Virginia games were canceled day of, and Norvell said it's been emotional for all the players who were prepared and wanted to play.
Our guys are excited about, being able to go through a week, implement a plan, work and to do all that you can to prepare for a game. And when that's taken away from you, it is emotional. It's emotional for the staff. It's emotional for players. We want to play. I think we played 2 games in 5 weeks, and it is one of the most challenging things I've ever experienced as a coach.
Norvell said they should have guys back from quarantine by next week as well. They had just 44 scholarship players available for the Virginia game due to contact tracing after the Noles had a positive test within the program. Reporting on FSU, I'm Courtney Mims.
Thank you, Courtney, and thanks for joining us for Playbook. Remember, you can catch a new episode every Thursday night at 7, and until next week, get out there, watch some football. See you next Thursday.